By the second year of running my contracting business, I had up to 6 job sites running all at once. I didn't pick up a tool the entire year. Every job was completed by my employees, and most of the time, they finished the job early and collected a 5-star review with 0 babysitting. I rarely, if ever, had to ask them to work faster, and it's not because I paid them outrageous wages or anything like that. It's actually because of a simple change I made in the way I paid my employees. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I paid my employees that made them want to work faster without sacrificing quality. And at the end, I'm going to share with you 2 other things I did that really made sure that the quality of the work never dropped. So let's jump in. Now, before making the change, I will be totally transparent. I paid all my employees by the hour. If a job took longer than I expected, I was the one who suffered. Crews would take their sweet time any chance they got. And if I was on site, they would work faster. But if I left, it was like nothing would get done. And this just caused like a lot of stress. I felt like the only way I can get them to finish the work was if I stood over them and watched them like a hawk. But employees hated that. Nobody likes the boss breathing down their neck 24/7. And I was worried about whether or not we were going to be on budget. Really, that's why I did it, because every hour that they were overtime was just money out of my pocket. It was just not fun. But that's when I made a change, and I switched over to a system that's called piecework. And that's when everything changed for me in my business. Now, if you haven't heard of piecework before, it simply means that instead of paying your employees per hour, you pay them per task or per job. So regardless of how long it takes them, they make an amount that you already have set aside, okay? So before I tell you these 6 things that your contracting business has to have in order to switch to this system, and the 2 other things that you really got to put in place if you're trying to maintain and protect the quality of your business and the output of your business, let me tell you what happened when I implemented this system. 1, I was able to manage way more job sites since I didn't have to micromanage them anymore. And number 2, employee pay went up without me increasing their hourly budget or their hourly wages. Okay, I'll explain how that's possible. Number 3, jobs became more profitable, and I was able to know exactly how much I was going to make the moment I booked the project, since the budget and labor was decided, okay? So let me just explain a little bit about this piece rate system, because it's very important that we're on the same page on this. So let's say hypothetically, someone's base pay is $30 an hour, and the job is budgeted for 20 hours. That means they're gonna get paid $600 regardless of how long it takes them. If they finish it in 15 hours, 5 hours faster, they still get paid the $600, and their wage, instead of being paid $30 an hour because they're only working 15, they would be making $40 an hour. And if they finished it in 25 hours, 5 hours more, it would look like they were making $24 an hour. So some employees will think that this is a way to pay, like to really pay them less, but it's not. It's not. That's the wrong way to think about it, because ultimately we're trying to create win-wins to reward people who work hard and work accurately. Now, of course, you gotta pay people minimum wage. So if somebody goes way over budget, you still gotta pay that. But if somebody's consistently missing budgets like that much, and you're always overpaying them, I mean, that's probably a sign that you probably have to let them go. Because the right kind of employee will be thrilled about a system like this. And the wrong employee will want to stick to an hourly rate because it will just allow them to slack off. They'll know deep down they're just not the right person for the job. Now, what I found, what happened is that when you reward people for finishing work faster, of course that can lead to a problem where people start cutting corners. But you gotta understand, you gotta set it up properly. So here's what the system requires if you want to set this up properly. You ready? Number 1, you have to make sure that when you're pricing jobs and setting up the job, you know how long each task can take in a fair manner. So let me give you a quick example. Let's take a look at this wall. It's around 100 square feet worth of wall right here behind me. Let's say we're painting it. You know, if you're doing it on average, let's say you're not trying to go for the world record, if you're rolling this wall, it should take you around 30 minutes per coat, 30 minutes. And so when you're pricing the job, you know, okay, this specific portion of the wall should take 30 minutes. The rest of this room should maybe take 5 hours, ceiling 2 hours, that trim there, let's call it another hour. So that's 5 plus 2 plus 1, that's an 8-hour room. And so when you're going to your team, you know in your head, reasonably, On average, it will take you 8 hours to finish this room. And that's how you're going to quote it. So if somebody finishes this room in 6 hours, they still get paid for those 8 hours. And then the entire rest of the house is going to be broken up. And it's not just for paint, it's for drywall, framing, carpentry, everything else. If you really think about it, this is how you pay your subcontractors. So we're just trying to implement this also internally with our W-2 and T4 full-time employees. So that's the first thing you got to do. The second thing you got to do is you got to train your team to learn how to hit those budgets. If you know this room should take 8 hours to paint it, well, you better be on the job site training them and making sure that they understand how the heck to accomplish that in 8 hours. So training their techniques, their pacing, breaking down beliefs. Some people may have spent years thinking that this pace is the way it is, but they never truly understood what's possible. Well, show them, train them, lead by example. That's the second thing you need to implement. The third thing you got to implement is a written agreement where you can really lay this out. Piecework. You need a piecework agreement. This would be separate or on top of your actual employment contract. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know where you live or your state or your province or your city. You got to look into that yourself. But there's still, it just needs to be written down. Whether it's done together or not, it needs to be written down. You need to get a signature from the other person. This is not hourly. And so the person is agreeing to something here that is very important, that it's laid out in black and white. So you need to write out a proper agreement so that your employees understand it. And that's the third thing. The fourth thing is you got to sit them down and make sure you're on the same page on how the system works. So if they have any questions, it's answered. So they understand the pros and the cons. Yes, there's cons to the system. The con, you want to know what the con is? If you're bad, you make less money. So it kind of really wakes some people up and has them choose a side. Like, are they not going to want to do this? Are they going to do this? So you need to make sure you really sit them down and explain this to them verbatim. Now, once you've done that, okay, once we understand how long things take, now you as the owner should know this. And if you've never done this, just bring out a timer and time yourself doing different tasks on the job site. You'll find a pattern. So establish these standards, then make sure you train them. Write it down, sit them down and make sure they understand the system. And then you got to create daily production planners. And these are basically checklists that break down how long each task should take. So for example, it's kind of like a menu. If I got somebody coming into this office and they're going to help me paint this room, well, I'm going to give them a list saying, hey, look, the walls are going to take 5 hours, the ceiling's going to take 2, and the window trim is going to take you an hour. So when they're starting their day, they know how long this room should take and how long each part of it should take. So there's not going to be any surprises. That's very important. That's called a daily production planner. Yes, they take time to make. Yes, as the owner, we're already tied on time, but you can create this. And once you create this, the amount of freedom and clarity you can get, the amount of babysitting you don't have to do, and all the profit that we actually can keep to ourselves will just pay off. Taking those 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 hours to build something like this for a job site is just absolutely crucial. So that would be the fifth thing. Now, the sixth and final part of this system is you need a way to collect feedback on those budgets. So let's say I came in and I said, hey, okay, to get this room done is 8 hours, painting it specifically. I'm going to have a process. So for example, I would maybe call the guy, check up on him, and see, hey, what did you think was possible or not possible? And he might say to me, Amber, to be honest, man, you totally underestimated the ceiling because there's furniture and these other things that like you didn't take into account. So like, yeah, if it was an empty room, it would have taken me 2 hours, but I think you underestimated it. Now, maybe to you in your mind, you're like, no, it should take you 2 hours with furniture. So now you spot an opportunity to train this person better. Or you realize you made a mistake and you're like, oh, honestly, man, fair enough. The budget should be this, so you can adjust the budget accordingly. But you got to be careful of your team potentially bullying you or saying things take this long or that long when in reality it doesn't. That can cause a lot of confusion. So you have to really be confident, which is why the first part of the system is you need to have confidence in how long these things should take. Now, once you have these things implemented, you got the piecework, the written agreements, everybody's on the same page, you will run into a problem. The problem that's going to come up, quality. People now are going to want to finish jobs quickly, okay? And that's going to pose a real problem to your business because if people want to finish jobs quickly, they're going to cut corners. So how do you do it? There's 2 things I implemented to make sure that we got a 5-star review at the end of every project and that we weren't forced to go back and fix mistakes. The first thing we did is we incentivized 5-star reviews. For every project my team completed, where they got a 5-star review, they got a cash bonus. Now, the bonus can be different things. It could be money. It could be a dinner. You could buy them tools. If it's a month-long project, like don't, $100 wouldn't make that much sense, but it needs to be fair. So a rule of thumb is 0.5% to 1% of the job you can set aside as an incentive for a 5-star bonus. And now what this does is, if, putting myself in the mind of my team, is they're trying to figure out, okay, not only do I want to finish this job fast, but I also want to trigger that 5-star bonus. And so if it's like a $100,000 job, you got $1,000 set aside for the entire team if they get a 5-star bonus, or $500, something like that, which really gets them excited. So you're actually incentivizing your team to make sure that it's a job well done. And that's the first thing. Now, the second thing you need to do is, if they made a mistake on the job site, they have to go fix it on their own, in their own time. So we had a motto: do it once, do it right. If things weren't done right the first time, or they messed up because they were rushing, it's their responsibility to go back and fix it. I used to tell my guys, this is your job site, not mine, your job site. You started it, you're responsible, you fix it. Not the foreman, not me. We can't start another project. I can't clear your final check on this. I can't give you the 5-star bonus. You gotta go and do the touch-ups yourself. Because otherwise, I'm gonna go fix it, my foreman's gonna have to go fix it, it drains everybody, and then it just predictably, your crew gets worse and worse and worse because you're just like fixing all their mistakes. Now, when they are forced to go do that, they take more ownership, and from the beginning, they start to think really intelligently because they don't want to spend their time off, their evenings and weekends, fixing things they may not get paid for. Now, when you combine these two things and this original system with this payment method, I mean, a really beautiful thing happens is now you have a team that think like the owner because they make money like the owner. So, in contracting.com, every time we help the contractor implement this system into their business, it makes a huge difference for them. Now, of course, there's a lot of other stuff you got to do in order to have job sites run seamlessly, but switching how you reward your employees is a great start. So if you want to see more videos like this, just click subscribe on this channel. We have more videos like this released every single week. And with that, I will see you in the next video.